Hey, it's Jay. I have a mild fascination with DCOMs due to loving the Teen Beach and Descendants movie, ironically, unironically, and have consumed a lot of content about them because there's something about the kitschiness of all that I like. I like a lot of kitschy stuff. It's fun, I've always been queer, etc. I don't like them enough to actually watch them, but I do have a history with the Disney Channel, just not what was typical. Because I watched the Disney Channel in the late 80s, and boy, it had not yet gotten an identity yet. They were not running a child actor destruction engine for entertainment. They were trying to find anything to fill the schedule for their premium channel that they were taking their time getting off the ground. And I saw a lot of weird movies from it, over and over again in basic child's fashion, because we had a VCR. I will not be explaining VCRs. I trust you to figure out media evolves over time and look it up if you care. And frankly, I'm glad I've seen them, because of the eclectic collection of any old garbage that anyone will license for cheap, has cultivated my taste for just any old weirdness I can find. A unique view of the world and media. Anything can be good. Anything. So always give new things a chance. That's the logline of the channel, really, to share some weird thing I found, like a fun comic relief creature in a cartoon might, or a robot sidekick or something. Should I get an avatar? I don't know, picking a single identity is hard. Let's move on. I have 3 movies I've never spoken to anyone about besides family because I assume they didn't see it. Why would they? They did not have my exact experience. Only about 3 million people subscribed in those early days. That's like 2% of the population. Not a lot of people. So I'm going to tell you about them. Those movies are Mother Goose Rockin' Rhyme, The 12 Tasks of Asterix, and The American Rabbit. For completeness, I'm including a couple of other weird movies I saw on Disney Channel that were good enough to stick in people's memories. And for this reason, I've got little to say that hasn't been said. Animal Olympics was rad as hell, stunning animation by some of the best animators of the game, and just some real bangers in the soundtrack. But there's been a lot of coverage of it by other creators, and also most of the jokes are racist, fatphobic, and just kinda mean, and it is way too horny. When it's not trying to be funny, it's alright though. Check out the album, it's some good shit. Another in the great soundtrack odd plot category is The Brave Little Toaster, whose obscurity is more due to it being tied in rights hell, so it's not streaming anywhere, but it's fairly well known for traumatizing several children. I think about the Junkyard song all the time. The Chipmunk Adventure is a fever dream of a film that has already been thoroughly roasted by the System Mastery boys, Jeff and John. Link in the descriptions. It's a real fun 2 hours, although maybe you need to have seen the film first so you can picture it properly. Check it out. I probably saw The Hobbit and other Rankin Bass stuff on this channel. They aired a lot of old stuff, like I said. Anything to fit the schedule. Old Disney cartoons, old Disney films, a lot of overseas animation, a ton of westerns from the 50s, Benji movies, that kind of thing. Nothing I care enough about to highlight right now, but you never know what the old memory sync will pull up. Let's get specific. I don't have nearly enough to say about Mother Goose Rockin' Rhyme. That's why you're getting 3 movies in this one. It's definitely fascinating, and it's got just enough kitschiness to it that it stuck with me for so long, but after a rewatch, it's kinda garbage. This isn't a movie so much as an opportunity for various guest stars to show up in a wacky costume and do some Brickwall Comedy Club level shtick. There are a lot of interesting facts about this movie, so we're gonna fast fact our way through this. Mother Goose Rockin' Rhyme is the story of Gordon Goose, the son of Mother Goose who hates living in Rhyme Land. Everyone there is a weirdo. But then his mother goes missing and he teams up with Little Bo Peep to try to find her, and we meet wacky versions of every nursery rhyme character. It's frequently both boring and weird. It looks cheap as hell and has only 1.5 bops, and somehow it isn't the song written by the writer of the Brave Little Toaster soundtrack. No, the good songs are the work of the Breakfast Club, the lead man of which also stars as Gordon, and there's a reason he quit show business after this. 2, actually, but that's a secret for later. We have Hop to It, a repetitive zany number performed for us by the Del Rubio triplets, obviously. And then this half-baked metal song that has a nice grunge to it. Catchy, but nothing fantastic. It's weird the songs suck because there's a lot of musicians in this, but the only one who does any work is Little Richard. Little Richard can do this all day, baby. What a fit. I don't know. The visual design is just another example of that weird impulse in the 90s to make old-timey stuff urban and hip. I like a lot of the outfits, but it's all very confused. The jokes are all bad. Sitcom-level comedy. Let's make Mary and her little lamb a toxic relationship, that kind of thing. Everyone in this movie is famous, but I was happy to see Harry Anderson, Katie Sagal, Gary Shandling, Pia Sedora, and ZZ Top. This was how I found out who ZZ Top is. They are the three men in the tub to me. Apparently a very famous Australian comedy duo gets 2 scenes in this. They aren't funny. The kid who kidnapped Mother Goose is young Alexander from Star Trek. Shelley Duvall was a key part of making this happen, and she shines as Little Bo Peep in this. Great look, great performance, fun to watch. Also, she and the other lead fell in love and are apparently still together to this day, which must have been awkward for this scene in which her ex-partner Paul Simon, yes, that one, plays third wheel on their romantic adventure for a few minutes. Alright, enough Mother Goose Rockin' Rod. I'm just glad that this was the 1990 movie produced by the Disney Channel that I am printed onto, and not the other one, Aladdin. No, not that Aladdin. Barry Bostwick Aladdin. There was no budget for original content, apparently. That looks awful. This odd little gem from 1976 is the only Asterix movie based on an original screenplay. You know who Asterix is, right? That's the little Gaul man, the most popular French comic book character. There has been at least 24 video games about him. This guy. Yeah, okay, you probably don't know who this guy is, but I do, because I watched this movie a lot, and I love this movie. It's basically an 1.5 hour Bugs Bunny cartoon, including the casual racism. The story follows the famous rebel village in Gaul, full of all those zany characters that you are fully aware of. You love Cacophonics, right? The movie makes a joke about you having never heard of these characters famous in exactly one country, but you get them immediately. These are very broad caricatures. All you need to know is that everyone in the village has access to a magic potion that makes them invincible. It makes every situation they are put in trivial. They are unbeatable. It's a win button that makes conflict non-existent, but the fun is watching what this pack of goofballs will do. It's probably going to be very silly. This invulnerability makes them the solitary holdout against the Roman Empire, which has been trying and failing to overtake them. It's suggested that it's possible the village is full of gods, and they aren't wrong. In the sense that they are simple, unkillable characters whose stories are used to teach and entertain, then sure. Hell, Mickey Mouse and Looney Tunes are gods in that case. But Caesar remains unconvinced, and decides to settle it with a test. He goes to the village and proposes a deal. If you can complete all 12 tasks that he has devised, then Caesar will concede defeat and step down. Otherwise, they must surrender. This is a bad deal. You have no idea what the tasks are, and they could easily rig any of them. But the rebel village is functionally undefeatable, so they say yes. They send their cleverest warrior, Asterix, and his constant companion, Obelix, who fell into the magic potion as a baby, so is always impossibly strong. They should probably be able to handle it. And guess what? They do. Fairly easily. I'm not going to tell you all 12 tasks. A lot of them are just going up to a broad ethnic stereotype and humiliating them. Like I mentioned, pretty racist. Like, they thought enough to make the German nice because they felt bad about making them assholes before, but were apparently just fine with these. Not excusing it, I acknowledge these all suck, but the varied character design is neat. It's neat racism. I like this chef guy scene where we are presented with just grotesquely huge dinner platters, which Obelix easily devours because he's a big fat guy, you see? Ugh, I said I was skipping Animal Olympics because of all the awful shit in that? Maybe let's just skirt along. The other tasks are more interesting, although some are just boring sight gags, but a couple in particular I want to discuss more. The first is when the boys are tasked to row across a lake. Simple as that. But it turns out there's an island of sexy ladies who lure men in to trap them forever. I'm going to assume it's magic and the presence of a woman or queer person would not have prevented this, because it seems like mostly all they do on the island is frolic to my favorite song of all time. Okay, maybe an exaggeration, but I can never be sad listening to this. A real disco bop. Anyway, they get out of there because Obelix would rather eat than fuck, so they kick him out and Asterix overcomes his horniness and also escapes. They also visit an extended comedy bit that I will never forget, The Place That Drives You Mad. I do not know why this place exists. It's huge and has several employees, and all of it is a joke about bureaucracy as Asterix tries to get a form. The entire segment is 10 minutes long, so it feels like you're also trapped in this goddamn building. And the solution is pretty clever. I think it's a good bit. Strangely, this scene is referenced in The Witcher 3. Of course those weirdos have seen this movie. Okay, that's about all there is to say. I like Asterix, he's a charming fellow. But it's of its time, the entire franchise is not known for its progressive takes, and I wouldn't suggest watching it unless it looks fun. It's got some good jokes, and also a lot of bad ones. I just like the 70s too much. It's my problem. If, aesthetically, everything on this list represents a specific decade, then I guess this is the 80s one, but not like cool 80s. This is the lame style of the 80s, all patriotism and kitschy plastic feeling animation. The stuff that gets stamped out in 65 episode blocks to fill a syndication schedule. I can't believe that this was a theatrical release. Unacceptable. I know the 80s were rough for animation, but Secret of NIMH was 2 years before this. Anyway, as you might have guessed, I identify with this movie a lot, but it is very stupid. So we start with a dam. A crack has slowly formed and is ready to burst. But not to worry, some rabbit in glasses is on the way and transforms into the American Rabbit. Able to lift heavy things and fly, has a pair of rollerblades stapled to his feet. Not sure why, he flies literally everywhere. Isn't really part of his thing, he just kinda has them. So he fixes the dam, and I guess we're jumping right in. Character established, this is a Superman, no origin story needed. Anyway, it's time for the origin story. Some number of years ago, there's a new addition to a rabbit family in this quaint mountain village that we have all over America. Just a normal American town. This baby is being stalked by a wizard, who keeps visiting people in the kid's life to discover he's a good kid, good sense of sportsmanship, can play the piano. It's very important he knows how to play the piano. So Rob, this kid is Rob. Rob is apparently destined to wield the power of the American Rabbit, and activates it unconsciously to save his parents from a rock slide. And the wizard appears and informs the family that there's a legacy in this town that forces some kid to become a superhero. Rob now has to go out and do unspecified justice. It's making his mom cry. He's so young. Actually, can we nail down an age for this kid? Is he a teenager, a young adult, 12? They never specify. I'm going to assume, due to interactions later in the movie, that he is at least 18. His parents sure seem pretty upset this needs to happen this way, making it seem he's younger, but we're going to assume he's old enough to live on his own and have a job and no one thinks it's weird. Anyway, he's off. Doesn't even get to bring supplies. He walks down the road and teleports to the middle of nowhere, where he figures out how to become the American Rabbit. He just has to run real fast. This was a huge influence on my early creative work. Like from ages 6 to 9, I made a lot of speedsters, not because of Sonic, but because of this dork. He flies around until he sees the Golden Gate Bridge, and a pack of hooligans find him and threaten to kill and eat him for no reason. Just a bunch of assholes. Well, at least they are leaving town. Rob walks into the first place he sees and asks for a job, and despite botching the audition, he picks up the basics pretty quick and gets hired immediately, because who else is going to do it? This place is dead. Hire the first naked child who wanders in off the street. Great plan. But then the bikers show up again, apparently this is the Jets, and they break a bunch of shit demanding money. Our weird panda owner declines, so the Jets come back during a performance and trash the entire place. Several casualties, and everyone just kinda sulks about it. I guess there aren't any cops in this world, because they just want to give up. But Miss Bunny O'Hare, her name is 2 puns, wants to hold a rally about it. So this is kind of weird. They just have a rally about how bad it is that these jackals are moving into their neighborhood and causing crime and ruining society, and it's real bad vibes. I don't care if these jackals are working for an evil guy named Voltor, who sends his bird to murder dozens of people by destroying the Golden Gate Bridge. You probably shouldn't have a hate rally about it. Maybe call an authority of some kind. It is 6 guys, the weird boss, and a vulture. The panda whose nightclub got destroyed promises he's going to rebuild his livelihood, and the crowd asks with what money. And he announces a countrywide tour to raise awareness or something about this local biker gang. Again, seems like a lot of work. Probably easier to just open a GoFundMe or something. Did you not have insurance? But that's the plan. And the bad guys are real pissed their mass murder got stopped by the American Rabbit, and they think it's time to recruit the toughest guy, which is Ping Pong, the strongest guy around. They kidnap him in a stupid scheme he should have easily avoided, and try to recruit him to their side by slowly drowning him in this little water tube, and he's real bummed about it.
Hey folks, I just don't know why you're doing this. I don't know what you want from me, but I want you to know that I can't swim, and I really don't like it in here.
Meanwhile, the band has started this tour in a single vehicle and can't find the place they booked. It's happening at the Trap Door, the biggest nightclub at the Grand Canyon. So this place doesn't exist. It's the jackal doing a trick to, I guess, murder them all. But Rob catches wise and suggests the best course of action to find this non-existent nightclub is to float a raft down the river. Great plan. He immediately gets jumped by the jackals he saw and taken to their secret lair. But they're easily distracted by tap dancing, and Rob gets away and turns to the American Rabbit and saves Ping Pong, who I guess is right there, and somehow floods this entire cave system? Where did all this water come from? And oh no, the band is about to go over a waterfall. Again, fantastic idea, Rob. Really keeping everyone out of danger. He saves them all, obviously. And they take it all in stride and head to New Orleans for their next gig. But the club they were going to play burned down, and everyone is trying so hard not to be racist that they just blindly fall for another scheme to trap them all on a boat and set it on fire. The flags could not have been redder this entire time. There are no other guests on this boat. These jackals are very clearly the same guys who tried to murder you before. It is not racist to refuse an extremely sketchy job from them. Have some basic preservation instincts. American Rabbit saves everyone again. It sure is convenient that the American Rabbit is just always around, and also Rob is never around when he shows up. These characters are the dumbest people on Earth. But the American Rabbit figures out the motives behind the people who have been nothing but hostile to them.
I was just wondering, and this is purely informational, big guy. Why are we doing this, huh?
Because we're evil, you idiots. We are bad. That's our job. And as long as I'm in charge, the game gets played by our rules.
Oh, okay. This guy's just evil. Great. Cool. Glad that's cleared up. Anyway, they're off to New York, but they also lost their car somehow, so they have to hoof it. Oh, the wizard gave them a ride to 50 miles away. Thanks, wizard. No, you see, they need to meet these chocolate moose. Haha. Because they will be important to the plot later, I think. So they are in New York and need some instruments to do anything, so they visit these annoying penguins who refuse to help them because they're slick businessmen. So our heroes leave to go die on the street, I guess. They're 1,000 miles from home with no money, and the bad guy walks in to rent the Statue of Liberty. Did not know it could be rented out. Especially if you're going to then line it with dynamite and invite people to it for free ice cream in an attempt to perform a wide-scale terror attack. American Rabbit stops it, of course, and finally confronts this evil man, but oh no, it's an empty suit. The vulture was remote controlling him all along. Seems unnecessary. The vulture is also always there. Just a pointless misdirect. But the vulture gives our hero an ultimatum. Do what he says, or he'll throw the doomsday switch and kill everyone. What's the doomsday switch? Is that related to the dynamite that our hero has already diffused? Or is it something else? It's something else? Okay. Well, our hero acquiesces and announces to the city that they are now in a dictatorship. The vulture's in charge now of all of America, and everyone who plays along will get some chocolate. Otherwise, he's flipping that switch, and it'll do something. Fascism is here now. The bad guys are roaming the streets and just walking into the police station. I guess there were, in fact, police, but they're powerless against these 6 guys. It's a dark time indeed. Until the people suddenly realize, oh, wait, it is literally just a small biker gang. We can just yell and throw things at them and they will instantly crumble. The Vulture's ego is out of control because he doesn't understand why his flawless plan isn't working, and Rob needs another pep talk from the wizard, who tells him, hey, it's just one guy. Just go get him. The American Rabbit returns, and in order to stop the threat of the Doomsday Switch, he uses his lightning powers to stop the Niagara Falls, which causes a blackout in New York City so the Vulture can't throw the switch. That's definitely where New York gets its power from. Niagara Falls. The Vulture shows up to fuck with everyone and endangers those moose again, and the American Rabbit chases him into a snowfield and he just dies. Evil has been conquered, and Rob returns to his friend to get a smooch from the girl rabbit, and everyone points to the horizon, claiming they see the American Rabbit flying away. Yep, these idiots never figured out their good friend, who is constantly disappearing when the superhero arrives, is actually that superhero. Or it's a wink and nod that they know, but I doubt it. Oof, this aged a lot more poorly than I expected. The story is nonsensical, the drama is poor. While I have an affection for all of these characters, it's 100% nostalgia. None of them are fully realized, none of the jokes are good. Everyone is such a gullible moron, just a real... Wait a minute. Run the tape back. I've heard this bridge before. Where did these guys steal this lick from Animal Olympics? I mean, perfectly understandable from the studio that gave us Dirty Duck. If you know, you know, I'm not touching that one. So those are 3 movies I watched as a stupid child. I'm definitely glad I've seen them, and I love them all dearly, but they're not good movies. Please don't seek them out. There are so many better things to watch, like Columbo. Okay, time for a swerve. Let's finally cross the Millennium Line and talk about something modern-ish. Because it's definitely a show about a very specific time that I'm glad is over, and I pray to God is never coming again. Let's talk about The Good Wife, specifically The Good Fight, a really bold series that I know no one watched because people would have lost their mind if they knew this was on TV. Till next time.
What shall I wear?